Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Nip and a Half Fantasy Football Podcast from Fantasy Football Hub. I am here with Paul. Paul, how are you? How was your weekend?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Fergi. Good result for Hibs yesterday.
What was the score?
They beat Dundee 2-1 in the opening day of the season, but we were playing Europe on Thursday, so it was good to see that domestic priorities take place post European escapades.
You want to share with us what happened in your European adventure this year, or is it
Oh
still
yeah,
or is it still a bit too painful?
no, I was almost applauded the goal. It was in the last minute extra time we got put out with an overhead kick,
Oh
so
wow!
it was. Yeah. So now we're playing Partizan Belgrade in the Conference League qualifier.
So
So
in Europe, mate,
I'm sure
good
we'll get.
stuff.
We'll get. Yep. And when you were seeing Oasis yesterday, I was seeing Scouting for Girls. So
Oh, brilliant, superb. Yeah, the long drive back from Wembley last night, but well worth it. They were absolutely fantastic. I actually missed the Cardiff one because I was up in Scotland. So but it was absolutely fantastic at Wembley. Really enjoyed. Welcome everyone. How many days to go now, mate? 11 days to
11.
game week 1. Exciting stuff. Still seems to be so many changes going on, so many transfers going on still, which are just seem to be massively impacting everything they do. I find it hard this year still to sort of get a grasp on any kind of even semi-settled 11 that I can think, right, I think I'm pretty close here. Like like a staple team that you're just tweaking around the edges. I still don't feel like I'm anywhere near, really. Are you at all, or do you still think we're just a touch too far out?
Yeah, bit of both. I'm pretty comfortable with what I've got down on paper, but knowing that will change likely over the next week and a half. But I took on board a couple of things that you said last week, made me think a bit more and started to think about tactics more so than players
Yeah,
in
that's
the
what
way that
I've
was
been
set
doing.
up as well, which is uh, which was very useful. And then starting to look at the pre-season friendlies more now because there's patterns and who's been prominent
Yeah.
in starting 11s and then who's set up for this weekend as well. And we've got the Charity Shield or Community Shield next weekend as well, which will help from a Liverpool perspective and perhaps from Palace as well if Eze doesn't go or does go to Arsenal as he's linked with and other moves around that as well. So that definitely will be useful.
So before we look at the takeaways from your weekend of friendlies, let's say hello to everyone in the chat. Nobbles is in. It's evening, gents. Not long to go now. There's not. Brownie is in. Ray, Donny, FPL, Viney, Cloudy, Sky Fancy Football. First proper draft done today. Interesting. Dave Hannigan, Chris Harvey, Emma Roper, Matt Woolley, and Noel Brennan says 3 teams means I'm on about 239 drafts now across the 3 formats. Indeed. I haven't even looked at fan team yet. Chris says, Paul, is the Scottish Premier League already decided? Now Rangers have drawn and Celtic have won. I saw the manager yesterday was pretty scathing, wasn't he, on Rangers?
Yeah, I think they were, from all intents and purposes, I heard they were pretty poor. Albeit, I think Motherwell's a bit of a kind of not outsider for the league,
Yeah.
but a bit of a dark horse this year for top 6 place. So I think there's a couple of bits of deadwood that probably need to leave. And I know Rangers fans have been clamouring for Tavernier to go for some time. Just what he presents in attacking quality, he lacks in defensive instability, and most of the teams in the SPL target the right back position now with the space that he leaves. So definitely a few things he probably needs to address there, but they'll finish first and second. So for me, it's all about all about finishing third.
Just in talking of Deadwood, let's stop talking about Scottish football and let's move on to fantasy football. Sorry, Paul. big eyebrow from Paul there. Big eyebrow. So I suppose wish we start. Which game?
Oh,
You're,
let's do FPL last because
you're,
I'm currently locked out my account and it says it'll reset in 10 minutes. So
so Paul Paul's tried to log into his account, and he's been locked out apparently, which looks to be a new feature. Locked out locked out after 3 attempts, Paul.
Password 3 times.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll have to do FPL last. Paul's password, I did tell him, was Fergi beat me in 2 of the 3 fantasy games last season. He tried that, it didn't work. So hopefully it will work when he comes back. So should we start on Telegraph? No, I can see we've got a lot of Telegraph players in the chat.
Yeah, it's probably worth saying that you're recording your podcast on Wednesday for that, right?
We're recording with Luke and Carl as usual, and we've also got the reigning TFF champion Johnny Curry with us as well. So get your questions in. If you don't follow me on Twitter, make sure you do. But we will have the Telegraph podcast on this very channel as well. So make sure you tune into that, because I think with Johnny on board, there seems to be a new, I don't know, like a new world of manager. He's very, very, analytics based. Johnny is. He's got his own, his own solves and things. We're not going to talk too much about that, but the analytics approach and things we can maybe apply and think about that we maybe haven't thought of before. It's gonna be really interesting. It feels like all fantasy games, sort of moving towards more data driven decision making, which as an old school manager, I'm very much still gut and feel and vibe still, but I do think having that sort of underlying data as well can be the edge as well. So yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting. What are your general sort of musings, I suppose, on Telegraph in the last 6 or 7 days, Paul?
I think it's pretty easy to get a reasonably good team in Telegraph.
To agree with that.
The more I've tinkered with it, the more I just think big at the back's probably dead now, right? And that used to be the Telegraph tactic 2, 3 seasons and beyond further, but you can get a pretty exciting front 7 now, and just based on all the pricing of defenders and mid-table teams as well. You'd mentioned Truefair last week. He looks like the natural replacement for Kirkes. Like really high upside from an attacking perspective. His last 3 seasons as Ren. I know a lot of people or a lot of accounts on Twitter, etc., have been less buoyant on him and making comparisons to some other bandwagons in pre-season last year. But this guy's like in his mid-20s. It's not like they're signing a youngster for the future that they're going to kind of bleed in. I don't think. I certainly think he'll start the season. Kirkes was 2.5 million last season. Truefair's 2.3, and he does have that attacking upside as well. Maybe some people will get put off by Liverpool in the opening game of the season. However, at least you get to see the starting lineup in Telegraph.
Of course, you do on Friday night.
You'll know if he's first choice at that point or not. So I've got him as a placeholder. I do think that there is escape routes around about that price as well. So I don't think it's one of those ones that you box yourself into a move and there's nobody else at that price point. There is another player that's 2 million who I think could be a good player in this game, but I'm probably not going to start with him for the reason that if I spent all the budget, then I would be boxing myself for. But Fer Lopez from Wolves, they've just signed him from Celta Vigo for 19 million. He's only 2 million in the game. Wow, so brilliant. That is, if you are short on cash, then that certainly is an option. He's currently sitting at 7% ownership. I think that's just the way that Telegraph, when you auto pick, fills the slots with cheap players. But my general view is it's relatively straightforward, and on that basis, I think I'll start with Salah and Haaland. Wow. I know that was something that you were, I would say against, but you're kind of you had a look at what you could get without Salah and Haaland when you first picked your team. And I think that even with Salah and Haaland, I can get a decent 11 out. So I'm very likely in Telegraph to start with both.
Well, that's really interesting. But yeah, I do agree massively on that. There's so many, very cheap options which enable it, and also in midfield, someone like Rodgers, for example, who's only 3.8 million, he should probably be a lot higher as well, and there's a few others in there as well. So even though like with Rodgers, especially given Villa's opening fixtures as well, you probably I would probably pay I don't know maybe up between 4.5 and 5 million for him regardless. So the fact that he is 3.8, he's again, if you go for your Truffets, your Rogers, and there's others there as well, right? We'll touch on in a minute. Um, you kind of all the premiums, I suppose. So you're saying you're having Salah and Haaland. Who are the premiums you're going without then? Because obviously you can't have Palmer, Saka, Bruno.
Saka probably.
Only Saka is it you're missing out on?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so
I've
what
got the
about
price points,
Verts?
bro. I've got price points. Like,
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
yeah. So I don't have Verts in,
Yeah.
but for me, it's a toss up between him and Bowen in the
Okay.
last slot just now. I think I've got Bowen lined up for that. But I can get Verts in for a different player if I move things around slightly.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Um, Dorgu's one who's interesting me massively at Man United at 2.9 million. He's probably priced as if he wasn't a starter, but it looks like now he looks reasonably nailed at left back. He's had a hell of a pre-season. I know United's opening fixtures not the best against Arsenal, but after that they're not that bad, are they? I think come game week 6 they do improve massively. But for 2.9 million for a for a left back, very very attacking left back, potentially playing for a top 6 team, which plays like Bournemouth aren't, right? I do think it is just worth urging a bit of caution on players like, Bournemouth have lost their back four, right? Or,
Yeah.
losing their back four and their keeper, and they had an outstanding season last year. So I don't expect them to be as good as last year. Personally, they might be. But you would expect maybe Man United to go the other way and improve on last year. So for 2.9, I think he's good. And, you got the Forest defenders who've got a good start, as well. Same manager. So yeah, there's lots of different options. Who's your keeper of choice at the moment? If you don't mind me
I've got
asking.
Sanchez penciled just now,
Interesting.
3.6 million.
Yeah.
It's just like for a
Salah, Haaland, Sanchez, mid-price keeper. You got premiums everywhere. You must be really really cheap at the back.
I think I think Strand Larson like 3 million for
Yeah,
me,
yeah, it's decent.
like very close to a lock. Like at that
Really.
price
So
point, I
he's so
just
he's your
think
third forward, is he?
yeah, I just think
Mm.
like 3 million for a player that scored four. I think it was 14 goals he got in the
Wow.
Premier League last year.
Yeah.
Um, Regular starter, 3 million. I don't think there's anything to kind of sneeze at that. Um, but yeah, I imagine a lot of engaged managers are going to have. I wouldn't say similar teams because you have to leave out one.
Of
Like I've
course.
left out
Yeah.
Saka and I don't have Bruno on my team as well.
Oh, Bruno's the
Um,
other one, is he? Okay.
yeah, I think Bruno's probably more important in other formats
Yeah.
than this. Albeit League Cup, I think you're pretty buoyant on Man United putting out a strong 11 in the League Cup.
I think Bruno will
Um,
play. I'm not sure about Dorgu because they may give Shaw a run out, but I just can't see. You know, you've never seen Bruno on the bench for anything, do you? And they haven't got Europe either, have they? So I know we'll see. Just on that, just on the strategy part there, a couple of questions. Are you taking are you taking the League Cup into into account when you're making any individual picks? So I'm thinking players like Bruno, players like Strand
well,
Larson, for
well, I've got
example,
Bowen. I've got
Bowen,
Bowen over Wirtz for
because of
that
that
reason.
reason. That's
I
interesting.
I don't even necessarily think Bowen starts the League Cup, but
Yeah,
West Ham's fixtures are okay to begin with anyway.
yeah,
So I think
exactly.
we're pretty comfortable with that choice.
And the second one, just in terms of how you're laying out your team. So I think last year you started off, I think all 5 of your teams exactly the same. Was that right? And
Yeah,
then you just managed it all the
yeah,
way through. Are you doing the same this year?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Coincidentally or not, I feel the last two winners of the overall game, Johnny and James Ingram,
Done the
both
same
did
thing.
that tactic and then changed their team up at the end. Now I play in a few mini leagues with different So I'm like max out the number of mini leagues that I play with each team.
Yeah.
So it meant that I didn't deviate towards the end, but I can understand obviously if you were in with a chance of winning the overall game, why you do so.
Just okay. Yeah, I think I'm taking it into account slightly with a couple of my picks. I just feel like, and I know this from Dream Team. So if you're not a Dream Team player, you wouldn't know the potential upside of the Carabao of a random starter haul in like Palace last year, for example. I think Palace played full strength, and they in like and Eze and Mateta, and
Yeah.
they just smashed it every time. But if you're not a Dream Team player, you probably haven't. And the year I won Dream Team actually, it was Havertz's first season, and he scored a hat trick midweek in the
Him
Carabao
and
Cup.
Having
And
Calvert Lewin.
Calvert-Lewin also scored 2 hat tricks. He scored a league hat trick and a Carabao hat trick as well. So I'm not saying plan around it, but I do think I would advise don't discount it, if that makes sense. Have a look, because there could be some good options there, and I'm tempted to. I posted something in the Fancy Football Hub WhatsApp group this week, actually looking at fixtures, about how the fixtures fall after Liverpool. A lot of teams have got a 5-2 over Liverpool. Now I'm not saying in your number one team, take out your 3 Liverpool players and smash it in. But if you are, for example, using a 4th or 5th team with a different strategy, it may be worth doing it. And there's also, I think Man United have got a 3-0 over Man City and I want to say Liverpool during that time of the Carabao game, and the 3 are Fulham, away to Fulham, Carabao, home to Burnley maybe. They could be 3 really good fixtures. So I'm not saying discount. Sorry, I'm not saying go all in. What I'm saying is don't discount them either, because you could in one of your teams get off to a flyer if you've got 2 defenders and Bruno, for example, and they win 3-0, and then you get a couple either side. You could get off to a flyer.
Yeah, what like maybe the main reason why I keep the same team is for how tidy the management of it is, and not having to
Yeah, of
when we're
course.
already
I
playing so
totally
many
get that.
when we're already playing so many formats that having to think up multiple strategies and then implement multiple strategies within the same game
Yeah,
was maybe a slight step too far.
yeah.
Now I
No,
say
I,
a
def- I
slight based on the
definitely
fact that
get.
the fact that I play fan team and draft on top of all the 3 formats that we play as well. So
Yeah, Rhubarb in the chat at what date do the Premier League clubs start in the Carabao? And it's all the teams who are not in Europe playing like game week 2 in the midweek
second
and game
midweek.
week 2. So that includes Man United, West Ham, Everton, and all these as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting. What about Dream Team, Paul? How is your team shaping up in Dream Team, and what are your like strategic thoughts at this point as well?
So the biggest the biggest challenge I've got just now is thinking about which goalkeeper I'm going to start with.
Yeah,
And I'm pretty set on going cheap. So I know that Perry Leeds have just signed goalkeeper Perry
yeah.
from Leon, but he's in like
I
he
don't think he's
came
match fit, is
injured.
he?
That's right. So they're talking about potentially playing in the friendly in this upcoming week. But do you know where I've landed just now? Is Onana's injured. And so I'm thinking of starting with the Man United reserve keeper. It's 2 million. I know he plays Arsenal in an open game. If Onana's going to be out for a couple of weeks at the start of the season, he'll play both games in the double game week 2, and then that would give me enough time to assess it. Hopefully, get a few rises from a £2 million player, and uh, and then move on there. Now that's not set in stone. I'm keeping an eye on what the Sunderland keeper comes in at, what West Ham do as well from there. But I think I'm going to go cheap and goals. It worked as a tactic last year for those that went Muric that was at Ipswich, albeit I think he was 1 million rather than 2 million. Say just trying to pick up some rises early on. Saves bonus from the keepers always there and available.
It is worth saying as well that the teams who win in a Carabao Cup um, in in sort of game week 2. If they do win, then they play again in a few weeks. In this, I believe it's the same game week that the European fixtures start. So you're thinking about you think, oh, you start with non-European teams and then you have to move over. If your team wins, you may not have to move over. I mean, ideally, you'd like the better teams, and obviously rotation will be far less in European. But if you
Yeah.
again, it's what you think, and it's worth doing research. And I go back to Palace of last year. I'm not saying that Palace are the right option this year, maybe because they're not in the Carabao. But if you think players are going to play, it is worth looking. I've just noticed on not only FPL.co.uk that Mike has added in Palace's conference playoff rounds, which will change things massively for game week, because they'll play game week 1 and game week 2. If that is the case, we do need to check that.
Yeah.
But he's added it in. So I'm assuming, if that's right, I'm assuming Mike will have also checked the rules. But I know it was announced this morning that the two teams that are playing, I can't think who they are now, the winner will play Palace or the loser will play Palace. But if that is the case, that is massive, because that will change all our game week 1 teams, I think, because it means Palace will play twice, and they're very, very likely, I think, to put out a good team in that European qualifier, and they're also very likely to play not a very good team, I think. So breaking news, I think. Were you aware of this, Paul? Am I reading this right?
Well, I know that they play early, but I'm sure that conference qualifiers didn't count in previous seasons. I'm sure Aston Villa was in that situation.
Unless this is if they win the playoff. Unless it's if they win the playoff again to this. We need to double check this. But yeah, let's leave that at the moment. But Mike has put it on not only FPL.co.uk. Not only FPL.co.uk, so it is worth a look. If anyone knows in the chat, let us know. Sorry for the brain fog, but that's interesting. Tony said the new Sunderland keeper has been added at 2 million as well. Roef, who's going to be competition for Patterson, is it?
Yeah, he's injured. He's injured as well, Patterson.
And Sunderland do have a Carabao match as well. So Sunderland will go West Ham, Burnley, Carabao, Brentford, which is not bad. So for 2 million, he could be a good shout as well. Thanks very much for that, Tony. Yeah, interested. Looking at my team, I'm currently on 4 at the back. I'm not going to go with that, but I wanted to squeeze in Porro. I've been looking at the staples of my team.
Last season when he rattled in the goal early on the season, I didn't have him when we were on
He's
here.
just one of the. I honestly think he's one of those players. I've been looking at the staples I want in my team, and I've definitely got 3. I think Salah is one, assuming this Palace thing isn't right. Captain in game week 1, you don't want to get off to a bad start, right? I think Bruno is a staple in my team, because as it stands, I think he'd be the best captain in game week 2, and I just think he's just a beast in this format regardless. I took him out last year when he had a difficult fixture. He scored like a 12 or 14 pointer, and it really, really set me back, and I had to get him back in and whatever else. My third one at the moment is Porro. Just because of the way he performed for me last season, the way he performed for me the season before. He's just a machine, and I think he's more nailed this season than last, judging on
Well, he'll be on all
pre-season.
set pieces. So coincidentally, or not coincidentally, because there's logic behind this. But if you look at the games that he wasn't getting bonus in last season, it's because Maddison was on the
Yeah,
park. Maddison was taking all the set pieces. So in the games where Maddison wasn't there and Porro's on corners and free kicks and such that's where he's getting the monster hauls, and like Maddison looks like he's out with a knee injury. So
he can be out for
yeah,
ages now. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, so they're my three staples. I've got Palmer at the moment as well. I'd say he's my fourth staple, but I'm not sure about him. I'm definitely on the other three.
Interestingly, if you look at Porro as well, right, and you look at his fixtures at the start, game week 2 stands out as not great away at Man City, but then last year they beat them 4-0 and
They
Porro
did.
scored in that game, so you got like a because I had taken him out the week before.
Yeah, I just think that one of the things which has done me well in Dream Team over the last few years is getting my staple players in place and just leaving them. And Saka has been another one. I'm just not sure how. Don't really like Arsenal's opening fixtures, and I'm not sure how Gyökeres is going to, you know, impact Saka. I don't. I'm not sure whether it would impact him massively or not. If he takes pens, I think that is a big impact. If he takes pens of him, I don't know, if he will or not. But with the opening fixtures, I'm quite happy to let Saka go. But Salah, Bruno, and Porro for me. Who are your staples? Have you got staples, or are you totally fluid?
I'm playing Salah and Haaland in this format as well.
Oh, you
So
are. You're all in on
um,
Haaland as well. Interesting.
so that makes it obviously challenging in terms of budget and how I
Yeah.
spread that around beyond that. So I'll probably go Palmer, Salah, Haaland, and then play about with the team after that. Hence why I'm going cheap in goals. I'm pretty set on the. I'm not set on the who in goals, but I'm pretty set on going cheap. I know it's a tactic that the Dream Team Tonic boys have played before, and it's worked well. Like it's worked well for them as well. So it's just again then filling in the gaps around that. I might start with a budget midfielder as well. I remember having James Garner a couple of seasons ago, done really well for me, and
Like a 2
then
million or a 2.5 million. That
yeah,
cheap.
but
Yeah.
then not having many of the mid-priced ones. Then like using the rest as my price points
Yeah.
for those that are transfer out. So if I started with a Palmer and wanted to move to Saka easily, and not having it as one price point, but having almost three, four premiums that I can then move one out if I want to play the price rises. It's going to be very difficult to get the types of teams that we've had in Dream Team in previous seasons this year, especially when Ezzy's like as a darling in this game, and they priced him really well in my opinion. I think the pricing in general on Dream Team has been excellent. Verts as well, 6 million like makes it very difficult
Mm.
to start with all these players. But when European football kicks in, and I know you made the point about League Cup, but you do want the
Of course
best
you do.
players
Of course.
from the best
Of course
teams,
you do.
and it's going to be very, very difficult to transition into that unless you're building budget early. But then you've got this rolling of the up to 5 or 6 transfers now as well, which you have to factor in as who you want to then
Do you
play
think that
the.
you're going to be doing that early doors? Because
Well, I don't. I genuinely don't know. I genuinely think that I think the rule changes and the pricing on the game is excellent to the point where there's a multitude of tactics
yeah,
that you can play.
yeah, I don't think we're going to see. I think it's going to be very hard for a template to build because of the variety of ways you can play now. I think the transfer thing you can, when we used to chat last season, we'd always say, well, our first transfer for each of us is really obvious, and this on the second one. Like now, you can make none, 1, 2, potentially 3, 4, 5. It could be, it could be chaos. So it's going to be interesting. Just
Some late, when the late fix happen, or when postponements come up, and getting around Christmas time at the start of the year. I think that's where again like that multitude of tactics. Imagine sitting with 6 transfers and late things come out and you make 5 or 6 moves at one time.
not much family time again. leave leave me alone for an hour. Um, yeah, I suppose just strategically, just to go back to Telegraph. Think I'm gonna lay my team out for the long haul. I think on Dream Team, I'm a bit more short term focused. I think I'm very much going to try and do a 50-50 split between the staples and having a go at attacking the Carabao stuff early. And like I say, because I've got a bit of previous with the Havertz and Calvert-Lewin thing, I know how much upside they can be. And again, I wouldn't discount them, because there's so many points available and so many random points. You know, the way the fixtures can sometimes fall, you know, you could have Man United home to Dagenham and Redbridge, and Bruno could play, right? Or like, you know, a defender can play, so like Dorgu can play, and you know, the same for Wolves. You could have Wolves against a non-league team and Strand Larsen plays. All of a sudden, you're like, geez, you know, it's. So I just think it's staying flexible enough to appreciate that it is a big part of the game. So yeah, are you unlocked from FPL?
I am. And then I tried to log in and it just, without me even going through the rigmarole of logging it in, it's just like cached the previous session and then it's logged me in straight away. So, who knows?
What are your musings for the last week on FPL?
I am very much for the play aggressive to start with, and you kind of motivated me to that. And there's a couple of reasons for it, but the main one is my own enjoyment of the game and
Definitely.
kind of psyche around it. And I feel in FPL more so than other games that future planning isn't rewarded as much as it is in other games. And I feel there's more strategy in that, and therefore I fear that I would get disengaged very early if I didn't get off to a strong start, and hence why hence I think I'm going to play it pretty aggressive to begin with. Now I could come a cropper on that though, because if I don't start well after playing it pretty aggressively, then that's twofold.
Ranked 8 million after using 4 chips in 4 weeks.
But there is elements in there that you know that you highlighted as well. The price rises happen early in the season as well, so you are taking advantage of several other things as well. I did listen to you when you talked about the home and away rotation earlier on the season, and what that looked like. So your game week 1 and your game week 3 teams play at home there. So can you manipulate the chips to take advantage of that? Arsenal assets in game week 2 is definitely worth considering as well. So yeah, so I've been playing about with my team to think of the best way in which I can negotiate that. Perhaps not using as many chips as you had declared in a sequential pattern last week, but certainly, you know, 1 or 2 over the first few game weeks to kind of take advantage and drive from that. I've also there was a very good account on Twitter, or X, which I will re-mention here because I don't like I don't like not crediting content creators with things I picked up. But there was one that went into real detail on the DEFCON additions to the game and what that meant for players hitting 4 points or more on a regular basis, and what percentage of starts that they hit it on. So that takes into consideration the attacking points that you get anyway, or defensive points for clean sheets and appearance and such like, but then adds what then DEFCON on top of it. And the base now on defensive assets is significantly increased, like to the point where like there's a lot more value in defense than there is in other positions. So I could see myself easily playing more than 3 at the back, several times over the season.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Sorry, I just had a doorbell for those ways. It completely got distracted the last 5 or 10 seconds. But yeah, no, it's good stuff. And yeah, I agree. I think I'm so tied to this really early aggressive strategy that I probably haven't given as much thought to anything past game week 3, really. Just because I'm so tied to this strategy of getting off to a really fast start. For those who haven't heard, I've gone through it on this pod last week, and I've done it in Green Arrow last week as well. I think it'd be interesting to see. I've got Bakar on Green Arrow this week. Be interested to see what he thinks of it. But I think I'm going really, really strong on game week 1 in terms of very, very likely sort of 90% bench boost in game week 1. All the teams who play home in game week 1 also play home in game week 3. Really good fixtures, really good opportunity. Teams like Forest, Spurs, Villa, Brighton, and others as well. But then playing a free hit in game week 2 to counter that and really try and take advantage of those, get a really strong team for game week 2, because I do feel like I'm sure we can strategically plan the best time to play these out, right? I'm sure there's maybe a most optimal way, but I think I'm looking at trying to get a bit lucky with it, and I'm gonna try and get out of the blocks really, really quickly, because I think exactly the same view in terms of enjoyment. What I don't want to be is play a slow burner game, have a reasonable start in my eyes, and be 6, 7, 8 million after game week 3 or 4 going into the first, the first break. And I fundamentally think, and again, I may get this, and everyone here in this chat may get this a little bit more than those who only play FPL. Is I honestly think the game has fundamentally changed. I think the introduction of the double chips has changed the whole way, I personally think, to play FPL in terms of the opportunity, and in terms of, you basically, in my view, you have to get off to a fast start, because the casuals are gonna go crazy, right? Right from the off, they're going to use chip, right? And some of them are going to do really, really well. Some will do well, some will do okay, and some won't. Even the ones who won't will probably be ahead of you or close to you if you don't use any chips in game week 4. So you're fighting against the tide there, right? You're also fighting against the tide against all the engaged players who may play 1, may play 2, may play none. But you're up against them every year anyway. They're always hard to beat, regardless, right? So you're up against. I think you're up against everyone, and I honestly feel that the game has changed. And you said it earlier that in FPL, I think you said this, but in FPL, you generally don't get. Well, I feel this. I don't think you get rewarded for how you play sometimes, and being patient. You can play really patiently, play the right way, and still get smashed in the guts every week. Whereas I feel definitely in DreamTeam and in Telegraph, you can afford to play a patient game all season, and the cream rises, right? I don't feel that happens as often in FPL, and I feel that you can play well in FPL and still get nothing. So why not go for your potential ridiculously high upside, which is available to us? If it works, I mean, what a place you'll be in, right? You'll be in an incredible spot. You can then just almost defend for ages, apart from against the chips, which will be used, right? But even then, what's to say that a free in game week 11, like how many times have we seen a free hit flop against just a normal 11 who has been set up for that game week? So, obviously the downside is it doesn't happen. Totally goes, it's a nightmare. You go against the template, even though you're not massively going to be going against the template in the opening 3 weeks, because you're still going to have very similar teams in all 3 weeks to, lots of engaged managers, but you're going to have the most optimal team every week for the first 3 weeks, probably against those. So I think the downside isn't that big, whereas the upside I think is huge, and I think that's my overall reason and why I'm going for this. I do wonder whether those who play multiple formats may feel, I know you mentioned after the pod, you mentioned then again that actually you're thinking in a similar vein now, and I do wonder whether multi-format managers may appreciate the strategy a bit more than just FPL players, because they've seen how it can work in other formats. They've seen how it can work in DreamTeam. They've seen how it can work in Guy. When you go all in at certain phases, you go all in, right? And it's just you wait for the most optimal time. I can't think of any better optimal time than just go bang, bang, bang out of the blocks. So just want to give a bit of context here. I think the only reason at the moment, I'm not doubting. I'm definitely going to play. Well, I'm still thinking of playing the same game week 1 and 3 and free hitting in 2. I've seen like bench boost in 2, which can be sensible. I think at the moment bench boosting in 1, because I want out a very, very strong team. I'm almost not willing to compromise a brilliant start in 15, if that makes sense. I don't want to compromise one spot by putting a 4 million player if I don't think they get, I've got a cat and mouse chance of keeping a clean sheet, for example. So I'm struggling slightly to get a 15 I'm really, really happy with at the moment.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I would also say Solanke's currently in my team. He may or may not start the season. Wood is in my team. At the moment, I don't think he started yesterday. There's maybe rumours around that. So there are options there to go for other players as well. So, but yeah, as it stands, I'm going all in. I'm going into the international break either flying or despondent. But I feel that the chance of me flying massively outweighs the
What you're
chance of
saying is
being
you'd be
despondent.
despondent anyway, unless without playing the chips that you've had, that you've somehow probably went above where you were be predicted to be based on an element of luck, like which
Yeah.
is and the chances of that is slimmer than the chances of you progressing higher in the way that like with your aggressive tactic.
I've also noticed as well. I noticed like mostly in Dream Team, because I haven't been high in FPL for a long time. But mostly in Dream Team, when I'm in front, I think I play much, much better than when I'm chasing. A sensible game through all of last year. I got up to top 15 or 20 very early, and I say very early, like March or something, right? And I saw lots of managers who came alongside me, sort of went for it, went for the win or went for whatever, and slowly dropped off. Whereas I just played a really consistent game. I didn't finish as high as I kind of wanted to, but the point that I'm making is, I think when I'm in front, I can play a good game. As I showed in Dream Team when I won it, is that I was up the top for like 5 or 6 months and managed to hold on. So I feel that when I play there, I play a very sensible game. Whereas when I'm chasing, I can be very erratic and make wrong calls based on emotion rather than decision. So again, it's a kind of a personal thing, but I think I want to try and get in front and make logic-based decisions rather than the emotional ones I sometimes make when I'm chasing. So just all these are coming
Quicker
to my thinking.
differential.
But yeah, at the moment I'll be going all in FPL. It'll be an interesting nip and a half into game week 4 when I'm 9 million used all my chips and you're like 200,000. You've still got all your chips available. Like, oh, Paul, I can't make it next week.
Oh yeah, no, like I say, I'm leaning onto you, and it's mainly for the psyche around it, to keep me engaged. I think is why I'm
Just
anticipating doing it, and whether that's sort of like and whether that's the right way to think about it or not in general, I don't know, but I think it's the right way for me to think about it to keep me engaged personally. So
definitely, and this is the thing as well, is when you're playing all the other games and you're doing well in all the other games and you're not doing well in FPL, but it's very hard. I think it's very hard to change your course in FPL, to actually change
yeah,
your course of where you're going. You can't, like, unless you make a Hail Mary move, you can't massively impact your season. Whereas you can definitely in Dream Team. So it almost gets the same as you. If you get stuck at like a million come game week 15, it's like, well, what's it matter? Like, you're not not going to do anything. So, but yeah, interesting stuff. For those who haven't seen, we've started the Ultimate Fantasy Manager League again. Details are on my Twitter at _Fergi. We've got loads of I think we're up to about 30 odd entrants so far, which is crazy. 11 days out. So if you fancy joining that, drop me a message. It'd be really, really good fun. Don't forget about Cloud Fantasy Football. Ian and Mike have built an incredible game based largely, on the old Sky rules, but have improved it further. Fantastic UI, Paul. I know you're close to that game. Do you want to give it more of a shout out?
yeah, it's very like for those that played Sky before. and enjoyed the game. Very, very similar setup, like small tweaks to rules, which but like I've added even another layer on top of what was already a really good game. There's prizes being donated. I assume by Mike and or Ian in terms of the overall game, but also Tim Barry's running a very competitive league on there as well. So there is a monetary incentive for those that want to play for that. Albeit you obviously don't have to. It doesn't cost you to enter the game. But I always think that the pricing in that game, albeit I've complimented in particular FPL and DreamTeam, but Sky was always relatively good at pricing, and the guys Ian Mike in terms of their pricing for that for the cloud game is good as well, and they've got a nice little community set up, WhatsApp group if you want to be added to it and such like. So yeah, massive advocate for the game, and I'd encourage everybody to sign up for that.
Also, if you're a hub member, you can join in. There's £500 worth of prizes for all formats for hub members and all the leagues. You can join the WhatsApp group. So that cloud is for Telegraph, for DreamTeam. So yeah, make sure you join. If you haven't joined the hub, we're up to I think we've hit a milestone either today or tomorrow. I believe we're up to 500,000 members now, Fantasy Football Hub. So if you're not in, especially if you play these games, you're missing out. You can join up via the link in the description below. Currently 50% off. So if you're not, want to be in these groups, we've got some absolutely incredible managers in all of them. Most of the guys in this chat are in the group, as are most of the best fantasy managers in the world. So please do join in, and it's really good fun as well, and lots of monetary incentives in there as well, as we say.
I listened to your podcast when you were on FPL Have a Beer as well. Thought it was really good. I listened to it on my commute into work last week.
Oh yeah, thank you. I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, if anyone wants to listen to that, I was interviewed by FPL Have a Beer. He's got his own channel, well worth a look. It was like a 2-hour long sort of history of my fantasy past in terms of first playing in school and stuff, and kind of all the way through playing Dream Team and Telegraph, and first started tent and bits and pieces to where we are now. So if you are interested in that, a really good fun with Gary. He's also got some fantastic other interviews on there with people like Mark Southerns, Gianni Buttici, and all those as well. James and Planet FPL, there's loads on there, so they're really good listens. So yeah, I would recommend that. Okay, mate. You're back you're here next week.
Yep.
But we have to go early in the week.
Well, same time. Well, we can do same time next week for this, and then
Next
I'm
Monday.
off on the Tuesday.
And then you're off on honeymoon. Okay, so next week, next Monday, will be our official sort of game week 1 preview. Be really good fun. Hopefully we'll have a lot more information. We'll be a lot more locked in there as well. We hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next week all. Cheers out.